Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast, the show for fleet executives, HR leaders, and recruiting professionals. I'm your host, Ginger Craddock.
And I'm your host, Aaron Craddock. Each week we share actionable insights, market trends, and proven strategies to help you grow and thrive. Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Craddock. So a cool story to share with you guys. The world's top leadership expert sang happy birthday to me this weekend. And so, I ended up being in a small room in Dallas where we did a Q&A with John Maxwell, and in the same day that he was traveling to 3 different cities. And somehow when I asked a question to him, somebody said it was my birthday. And so that was a pretty cool moment where the world's number one leadership expert sang happy birthday to me. It was a cool moment, turning 38 on Saturday. And so today I'm going to talk through just some of those insights from being around some of the world's top speakers and leaders this past weekend and just seeing how they show up. And so John Maxwell's schedule on Saturday, he spoke on the East Coast that morning, and then he spoke in Dallas around 4 p.m. on Saturday, and then he was headed to Arizona to speak again for a third time. And my biggest takeaway from that is that we all have more capacity than we think. Like when somebody in their late 70s is showing up that way. And he 100% was where his feet were. Like he was with us in that room, shaking hands, really focusing in on each question and giving the best answer, being really thoughtful. And so another moment I had with John Maxwell was a year and a half ago. We did an event at Chick-fil-A, a behind the scenes thing. And so I had a chance to talk with him in the hall on the way to our next spot. And the whole time I was walking down the hall with John Maxwell, he was asking me like, hey, how could I have made this event better? Like, what could I do differently? And I was just amazed at, here's the world's number one leadership expert, and he's focused on others. And not just in what he says and what he writes about, but just in how he shows up. And I really appreciated that about John. And then my observation in Dallas this weekend, my Dallas revelation is, like, I saw how Tim Tebow showed up. I saw how Nick Vujicic showed up. I saw how Craig Groeschel showed up. I saw how John Maxwell showed up, and some of the other speakers, and they're giving it their all. Like they had clarity, focus, energy, and just pouring out. And I know, I travel a decent bit, but nothing compared to these guys. And I know how travel can wear on you, and just how they showed up and how much they care about other people. And so my biggest takeaway from that is like capacity increases like when you have a clear mission and vision. So some industry context and why this conversation is relevant. Like, why do we need more capacity? Why do we need to be having this conversation? Is recruiting departments, if you're not already busy, like more busy, like you're going to get busy. And so like as the need for drivers heats up and fleets add more trucks, recruiting departments get more busy, and it gets harder to execute. It gets harder for executives to add things. And so that's like to add positions fast enough, add leads fast enough, add quality hires fast enough to fill the trucks. Those all become constraints. And it can be a harder time. It can mean more hours. And some of the things we're seeing is the tender rejection rates go up. So as more loads are being rejected, like flatbed has had one of the biggest spikes, but also in, reefer, multiple different freight types, like we've seen these tender rejection rates increase. And so, and usually that's a leading indicator for needing more drivers and more capacity. And then another sign that capacity is tightening is, seeing that spot rate continue to creep up, not just creep up, but move up pretty fast. And so as, fleets may not have been profitable the last 3 years, and it was a real challenge to get by, there's now opportunity to grow. And so So with that, there's more demands on recruiting departments, retention departments, fleet executives, managing the dollars well across your trucking company. And so that's why we're having this capacity conversation about you can do more than you think, is because of those different industry dynamics and industry changes that we're seeing. And another takeaway, so I stayed at the same hotel that the speaker stayed at the event. And both times I was in the gym, I saw one of the speakers. And the first time was for 30 minutes. And then the second time, the second day, one of the guys popped in for a 7-minute workout and just talked about literally, he's like, yeah, Aaron, I got 7 minutes. I'm going to get in here, get out, better than doing nothing. And so just thinking about, as we'll have more constraints on our time, like if you're in transportation leadership in any way, when you enter like a different cycle, like there's just more demand on our time. And yeah, so how can you get that 7-minute workout in? Another thing I noticed is these leaders show up regardless of how they feel. Because think about, like, throughout the day, John Maxwell probably doesn't feel like being 100% present or feel like speaking, and not just doing it, but doing it with excellence. And a good example for me is we're coming up on the end of the day, and yeah, I didn't think I had energy to record this podcast. And then I'm getting on here with you guys because it's a commitment. Like, I had this commitment to getting these out every 2 weeks and doing it well. And so even though this is coming out in a month, my team really wanted us to go ahead and get this done. And I told them I would. So I'm getting it done. And as a business owner, throughout the day, like, there are multiple times where I'm like, I can't do this, or like I'm overwhelmed. And then there are other times I feel like I can run through a wall. I'm like, let's go. And I can conquer anything. And the differentiator with the highest performers and highest achievers is they execute regardless of how they feel. And they don't just not show up because they don't feel like it. And so that's what I'm really, one of the areas I'm focusing on is showing up regardless of how I feel or my energy level, and just doing the thing, getting it done. And, getting done the things that I promised for our clients in a timely manner, getting on new fleet partners in a timely manner, just all the things, and I commit to do different things to members on our team, and just trying to honor those commitments and do those when I say I'm going to do it. So the example is this podcast. I'm trying to get on here, and I'm getting on here and getting it done.
Hiring CDL drivers isn't about more leads. It's about better ones. That's why serious carriers partner with Hire Truckers by Trucking Clicks. We don't sell ads. We bring clear strategy, straight talk, and a relentless focus on quality drivers. Even in a tough market, our clients see improved performance month over month by optimizing smarter and making every hiring dollar work harder. For honest insight, sharper targeting, and results that you can trust, visit truckingclicks.com or call 512-982-0816. Hire Truckers by Trucking Clicks. Clarity, courage, results.
So one of the ways you can create capacity is by cutting things. And so I'm here saying, like, hey, you have 10x capacity, but I can hear also, and things I often think is like, man, we have 24 hours in a day. Like, I can't, and I can't work all the time and burn out. And so this season, where we need more capacity in recruiting and trucking leadership, I would encourage you to cut things out. And so some examples for me, like, I have cut down just my social media consumption, which is kind of ironic because I'm in marketing and advertising. And so I cut that down. At one point, I set it to 30 minutes a day where I can be consuming on my phone. You can set a cap on your iPhone. And more recently, I set that to 15 minutes because I'm like, if I'm looking at my day, I'm like, how can I get minutes back? A lot of times it's scrolling social media. And so I want to be doing that with intention, and I want to get in and get out. Another thing I've done to free up capacity is cutting out television. So it was a few years ago, we, as a family, decided to watch less TV and not have the TV on by default. And a lot of times we're working on things in the evening after the kids go down, and or we have other meetings or obligations. So now, do I occasionally watch a movie with Lauren or watch a show? Like, yes. But that might be like, 1 or 2 times a week and for a limited amount of time. And so kind of like the speakers, like Lauren and I are on mission. Like, she's working on her book and business, Own with Intention. And then we're really working on growing the Hire Truckers platform and helping more fleets and more drivers. And with that, we've got to cut a whole bunch of stuff. And then the third thing we cut out is just the news. And so that was something where I heard recently, like, that news is all, or not recently, this was probably 3-4 years ago, news is all focused on just the negative headline that can get attention, and that's what drives eyeballs. And so just consuming news media, like we don't have the TV and the news turned on all the time, and then we don't pull up news apps every day. And really, thinking through how are we going to consume and consuming with intentionality. And so I might get on to check a particular story, but that's not something that we're looking at all the time. And so cutting news, cutting social media time as far as a consumer, and then cutting out TV time. So those are kind of the three main buckets that I think a lot of people spend time on that you can, gain some freedom back. Next thing I wanted to talk about is like protecting what matters. And so it's not just about being more efficient in the work hours, which we, entering a busier season in freight, we're probably going to work more hours. It's not only about that, but being more intentional with time outside of work. And so a couple things that we do is Lauren and I do weekly date night. And so we're in the beginning of March when I'm recording this. And so we've done, more than 8 date nights. Like we try to do one a week. And there's sometimes we get more than one in. And really protecting that time, scheduling that ahead of time. And then the second main thing that I'm focused on is with my 5.5-year-old and my 3-year-old boys that we do a weekly adventure. So that might be going to lunch, going on a hike one-on-one, going to some new place they've never been, exploring something new, just having conversations, that one-on-one time. That's something when I look back on my year, whether or not it was successful, like did I do date nights? Did I spend one-on-one quality time with my boys? And so as I'm traveling more and speaking at more events, doing more media, those things become even more important. How do I spend time in a busier season on the most important things? Like not just being passively around my boys, but being very active and having those intentional moments. Another thing I do is like in the evenings, like if I'm around family and talking, like not having the phone out, I would just encourage you guys to not let your phone own you, own it with intention. My closing challenge to you guys as we enter this season where it seems like freight is picking up all the indicators and recruiting is getting more challenging, I challenge all of you to cut one thing. So what is one thing you can cut out of your busy schedule? So is that social media? Is that news? Is that television time? How can you limit that to free up more time on the things that matter? Don't let your phone rob you of the future. So don't let it creep in there, rob you of the present, and then ultimately rob you of the future because you're not moving towards your goals. Live with intention, and you have way more capacity than you think. On that closing challenge to cut one thing out, it's progress, not perfection. Like even when I set the 30-minute social media cap, I think I still averaged an hour because I would hit the add more 50 more minutes. And then same thing on going to 15 minutes. I think on average, I add another 15 minutes. So I'm at 30 minutes. And so progress, not perfection, like slowly but steadily cut things out. And then just for me, it's focusing on working out, eating healthy, spending time with those people I want to spend time with, say no to the wrong things. Another thing we have to do in the business is we say no to certain fleets. So we say no to more fleets than we partner with, like just in terms of people that want to run on our platform. And some of that is a function of just our vision and how we work with enterprise, some of the largest fleets in the country, and want to grow with them and help them scale. And so that takes saying no to some smaller fleets that we may even want to work with, but may not have need the recruiting volume that we can produce of hires. And yeah, thank you for joining me on the Hire Truckers podcast. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you for listening to the Hire Truckers podcast, the show for fleet executives, HR leaders, and recruiting professionals. I'm your host, Ginger Craddock.
And I'm your host, Aaron Craddock. Each week we share insights, trends, and strategies to help you grow and thrive. If you found value today, please share the show and leave a review. Until next time, keep building top-performing teams.